All right, we are streaming.
Okay, let's get started. Good evening, everyone. This is the regular meeting of the Boone County Board of Education for June the 11th, 2020, 7:30 p.m. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you would, please join me in a pledge to the flag.
Allegiance
To the
to the
flag,
flag
United
States
States,
of America,
and to the republic,
Republic
for
for
which
which
it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty
liberty
and
and
justice.
for all.
all.
All right. That brings us to item 3, recommended action consent agenda. Dr. Poe.
Yes, Mr. Chairperson, I recommend consent agendas items A through H with on double L that a additional recommendation that you give the superintendent approval to compare policies and come back with a potential new policy in the future based on cancellation fees if there is a net savings for us to review, since the insurance market has had some decreases since the original bids were approved. And the treasurer's report given by Ms. Linda Shield.
Hello, everyone. We began the month with an adjusted cash balance of $53,718,115. We had total revenues for the month of $8,353,445. Total expenditures for the month of $20,426,675. We had a net decrease in the cash balance of $12,073,230. That leaves us with a cash balance at the end of the month at $41,644,885. We did have 4 payroll runs in the month. We normally just have 2. We had the first summer checks issued. That's why the expenditures were so high this month. And a couple of the financial highlights for the month are that we collected $1.8 million in occupational license taxes. Right now, we're realizing about 85% of our budget at this point. We had a transfer of $287,833 to the fund. Again, with 2 extra payrolls, that transfers a little bit higher than it has been in the recent months. And I've also provided that report summarizing Ignite's financial activity. The operating expenses are reflecting expected levels that are comparable to the prior year level of spending. We had debt service payments of $802,000. And I provided all the usual schedules for you, but I'd like to direct you to the tax collection schedule. And I've added a new section, and that is a section for the revenues we're collecting for distilled spirits. Now that they're making bourbon in Boone County, we've been trying to get a hold of these numbers. They've been actually commingled with the regular property tax numbers. So I've separated those out just so that we can track those, because we have to report those separately to the state. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shield. So we have a recommendation to have a motion.
So moved. Second.
Member Maria Brown. Any questions? I know we had some back and forth with various folks at district office this week, but any questions remaining or comments on any of the material there?
No, Chairperson, I'll just make the statement on the insurance. When we were accepting or looking at the insurance policy renewals, given where we were, we felt that those were some of the better ones we could get. Now, the rates had, on a few of the things, had increased. So overall, there was a about 11% increase, which is in the area, but there's a few policies we want to review that had a substantial increase. And since that time, additionally, there's been some softening of the market. So that's the reason why we want to look at and take a re-look at those. But we can't let our insurance lapse. We need to move forward with where we are. But if we can get a better policy on those, and based on a cancellation fee, if we have a net savings, then that's why we want to come back to you with that within the next. Okay.
Makes sense. Okay, anything else?
Randy, on the insurance, those numbers, that's one question I didn't think to ask beforehand. So if you don't know, or that's fine, you can get back to me later. Did we not realize a savings on our insurance because we weren't running our buses as much? Did we get some sort of a credit savings there? And
Yeah, we were getting a little bit
that?
from the things that's not run, just like individual people, but it really wasn't anything substantial. But Linda can get those numbers back to you, and we can send that to you this week.
Okay, I was just curious because I didn't think that with the increases that you noticed, I think one of them was 20-something%. That which I thought that just didn't sound right. But I didn't think that any savings that we might have realized in this school year was reflected there at all. So I just wanted to be sure of that.
Yeah, and just as you were seeing those, that's what Linda and I were having discussions on today, and that we just feel that there's a few of them we want to reconsider because we don't necessarily when we bid out the last time, if you're within basically our 10%, we renew that policy because we've had you bid out in the past and then you have a renewal, and we were within the the time frame, and that ran basically we're up against the time frame, so that's where we were. But we did not like the overall came within the 10 to 11%, but there's some individual ones we want to go back and look at and see what we can do. And so basically what we're at, you're giving the superintendent the authority basically to tell our purchasing director to go back to look at our existing broker or look at another broker and compare policies and come back with a total overall price if we can get some additional savings. We may find out that we cannot, but we want to take another look at it. But at the same time, it's kind of like your car insurance that you buy for a month and cancel because we have to have property insurance and everything else. So this is what, in consultation with Jerry, this is what we want to basically be able to give the authority of Mr. Turner to work with finance and look into this for another month if we can.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else? So we have a recommendation, a motion, and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. That brings us to item 4, recommended action, old business. We don't have any old business to attend to tonight. So item 5, recommended action, new business, A, Boone County Schools 2020-2021 Code of Conduct. Dr. Poe.
Yes, Mr. Chairperson, I recommend action item new business A, the Boone County Schools 2021 Code of Conduct as presented.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Recommendation, Maria. Second, Troy. Any questions or discussion on the Code of Conduct?
I had emailed Mr. Ford in looking through that, and it was mainly just a curiosity question. I noticed that Mr. Turner had written our superintendent's intro for the new code of conduct. And I noticed that it was referencing 4 high schools, and we have 6. So my question to him, which I didn't hear back, I didn't give you much time to respond though, was that just because that's what we've always been saying for so many years, or is, I'm sure the code of conduct applies at the Rise Academy, but something in my mind was telling me that Ignite may be a little different. I just want to make sure we accurately recognize all of our high schools, and especially if this code of conduct is going to apply to it.
Yeah, in response to that, I guess from the state, we have 4 high schools and 2 programs, or actually 3 programs: the early college program, the Rise Academy, and the Ignite. And those are considered technically programs and not a separate school. But what they should redo is rewrite the beginning section and include those in there as separate program. There's a certain code for those, and I'm not sure if Mr. Ford is on here tonight, but
Yes, Dr. Paul, I
they
am.
should. Okay, you should rewrite the beginning and state the 4 high schools, and then the codes that the state, not the codes, but whatever the state classifies those programs are as,
Yes, sir.
so that it includes everyone. So yes, Ms. Bird, you are correct that the code of conduct does follow those students at those programs.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So
But they don't
make note
officially
of that.
recognize them as a high school like I do, because to me, they're just other parts of our high schools.
Yeah, agreed. It's just a technical thing that the state, in order for their schools to go back, their scores to go back to the other schools, the way it's written, that's, and Mr. Ford can explain those codes better than me, but that's the reason why they're done that way.
Okay. I figured there might be, in this regard, something technical there
Yeah.
that looks at it differently than I do
Yeah.
from my perspective for
Yeah.
them being actual Boone County schools. I think that they should be recognized that
Yeah.
way. And I'm still going to say we have 6 high schools. So
Yeah, and actually it would be 7 if you think of it. The Boone County Area Technology Center is
right.
the same code as the Ignite Academy is, and the Rise Academy as a trade program. So Mr. Ford will make note of that and get with Mr. Turner, and they can come up with a written thing to express that in that letter. Because it hasn't gone to the printer yet, correct, Mike?
That is correct, Dr. Poe. We would not send to the printer without this discussion. I will get with Mr. Turner. All comments have been documented and duly noted. And Ms. Bird, I can assure you that when you see the final draft, the superintendent's intro will give recognition to those programs, as Dr. Poe has explained. I can assure you that they will be recognized.
Perfect. Appreciate that, Mr. Ford.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. That brings us to item 5B, NTI application for 2020-21. Dr. Poe.
Yeah, Mr. Chairperson, I recommend action new business item B, the NTI non-traditional instructional application for 2021 as presented, and I'll give a statement after a recommendation in a second.
Okay, so we have a recommendation to have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Julie and
Okay, just as an FYI, this is an NTI application to utilize NTI days potentially for snow days next year. This is not the re-entry plan, as I think some parents or others saw the thing documented, and we received some phone calls during the week that we're starting back with NTI days or anything else. This is just granting us the authority to have NTI days for things of snow or any other emergency situations. Exit COVID. They obviously can be used for COVID-19 purposes, but this is an application minus all that other stuff that occurred this year, so that we can operate with NTI days if needed, if snow became an issue.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. That brings us to item 5C, District Technology Plan. Dr. Poe.
Yeah, Mr. Chairperson, I recommend action new business item C, the district technology plan as presented.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roy and Maria, any questions or discussion on the technology plan?
No, just appreciate Mary Ann's work on that. That's quite a document.
Marianne and team, yes, that is correct. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. That brings us to item 5D, Terms of Employment Changes 2020. Dr.
Yes,
Poe.
Mr. Chairperson, I recommend action new business item D for the board to approve the terms of employment changes to remedy a discrepancy in classified and supervisor salary schedule for 260 day to 246 days per contract as presented. And I'll make a statement afterwards.
Okay, thank you. We have a recommendation, motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Karen and Julie. All right, any discussion or questions?
Just a statement before any discussion or questions there. We have three individuals that fall within this particular area. When we redid the classified supervisory salary schedule the other year, and we brought things in line, one of the things that we did not have was the terms of 260 day to 242 day per contract. So certified individuals receive 246 days, and we had three classified manager or supervisors, directors that were on 260 that did get modified. Now, what we're telling them, if you pass this tonight, is that during those breaks, either the assistant or the foreman or have to be there in order to make sure that we carry out the different projects and so forth during that time. So what would occur would be is if, for example, you have right now you have the director and you have an assistant that have to work either spring break or winter break. One of those two will be working, and if they work during that time, they'll get non-contract days during other times throughout the year to make up for that, so that there's not a difference between the contract. So one of two things either needed to be done. We either needed to bring the days in line or increase the pay for those individuals. Given the budget situation, this is the better option of the two, is to make them the days the same as opposed to increasing salaries. So there's no increase in salary, and the work days will be supervised. It will just not require both supervisors or a foreman and a supervisor to be there at the same time during spring break or winter break.
Got it. Okay, thanks for that. Any questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. That brings us to item 5E, Annual Board Policy Update, first reading 2020.
Right, before we move on, Karen, I think we lost the shared screen. Do you have the shared screen to put up the agenda?
I still see it, Randy, on this
Do you
side.
still see it? So I just lost
Yeah,
it
I
on.
still see it.
Okay, as long as somebody can see it, that means it's live. So if it wasn't, we needed to pause. So, okay, great. Okay, I recommend new business item E, the annual policy updates, the first reading for 2020 as presented.
Okay, we have a recommendation, have a motion.
So move.
Second.
Troy and Maria, right? Any questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none there. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries there. Okay, that brings us to item 6, Superintendent's Report. I
Yeah.
believe Dr. Poirier tonight.
Yeah. So basically, we're going to have Dr. Pori give an update of the construction project so that everybody's aware of what's going to be taking place in the months of June, July, and August prior to coming back to school. Because just like you see on the interstates, the orange barrels, you're going to see some orange barrels around our campuses. So Mr. Pori, if you can unmute and go ahead and give the update.
I'm assuming everybody can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
Board members, you received a handout from me on various projects. I tried to identify them to you per school. I thought that was a good reference that you could actually, directly relate it to the school. I'll go through some highlights of things, but of course, if you have some specific questions, we can help you. New construction, Steeplechase Elementary remains on schedule. It's progressing successfully. That's a project that was unique because COVID actually impacted that project versus the others I'll review. But the healthy at work requirements, we've progressed successfully, and Steeplechase is on schedule. The turf field projects is also progressing successfully. The 4 high schools, the principals, the ADs, the coaches, they've provided some phenomenal input on field design. The 4 high schools are very consistent in their field design, and that's actually been a very fun project and a consistent project amongst the district. Right now, the construction schedule for those 4 fields is being reviewed with the high schools because we need to balance fall and spring sports for 20 and 21. And principals, ADs, they received all of that this week. Boone County High School, as it relates to the renovated auditorium, our basic designs are complete. We had great collaboration with Tim Schlottman, Joe Hayes, and the whole process. So that renovation auditorium, we've laid out those basic learning spaces. Same for the new auditorium, the band room and the chorus room. Tim Schlottman, the Barn Hills, we've all had great collaboration as we lay out those learning spaces and beginning to create the canvas of what those spaces will look like. The one, though, that kind of gets lost amongst those new construction is Burlington's renovation. And I want to emphasize to the board and even the public, that's a massive renovation. Right now, we're renovating 18 classes at Burlington Elementary. That includes the hallways. We are also doing roofing, masonry, new windows. So we're addressing an aging building there at Burlington. It's a very aggressive project. It's certainly aggressive as we look at the time frame, but I'm thankful to report that we are on schedule in maintaining progress on Burlington Elementary as well. Which makes me think of, in your handout, I identified things by school, but I didn't necessarily make distinctions between capital projects, projects that are vendor supported, projects that are external labor. I can't thank Dan Razor enough. I have to recognize his great work in the prioritizing, the planning, and the management in every project that's identified in your handout. And I didn't include every item. For example, I didn't include all the summer painting that we're doing, et cetera, but Dan Razor plays a major role in this. There are some large HVAC projects identified. Erpenbach and Ackerman Elementary certainly have large projects this summer as it relates to their HVAC. And I have to pause there. I want to thank Jeremy Bedell. He's our HVAC foreman. He actually plays very direct roles in upgrades, our new construction, and our renovations. Continuing though with another priority I know that's been identified by the school district is we have LED work going on or continuing to go on at our large spaces through the district. Connor and Ryle High School are having all new LED lighting installed in their main gym as well as their secondary gym. This offers us huge cost savings over time, but it also offers great aesthetic for those gymnasiums. And that'll complete our 4 high schools. And we'll continue though to look at auxiliary gyms, cafeterias, and middle school gyms as we progress. But that's a positive towards our energy savings and upgrades. Our final phase of access controls is also occurring. Based on the handout I gave you, you'll see a lot of our schools this summer are impacted by the access controls upgrade. Has a huge impact on our safety and security, especially as it relates to the requirements of Senate Bill 1. And this will conclude, and we'll have all of our buildings on automated controls. But understand too, this has a huge impact on our efficiency as well. It's a cost-saving measure, not just a school safety issue. When we start to get into some of this more granular work like access controls, I want to recognize Mike Brentup, our carpenter, and Larry Gripsover, our general foreman. They play an incredible role in these types of projects as well. Their skill sets and input is invaluable. The other thing though that's fun that I thought I'd conclude with, and I shouldn't say maybe fun's not applicable, but nobody compliments me when we do new roofing or new paving. But there are some things you're going to see in the schools that I am excited about. We will finally complete the locker replacement at Boone County High School. That was a 4-year cycle that we completed. Boone County High School is also getting new whiteboards and upgraded whiteboards, which was needed. We are refinishing all of the lockers at R.A. Jones. If R.A. Jones, if you look at Boone County High School, the metal and hardware of their lockers had simply aged out and they needed to be replaced. But if you take Connor Middle School as an example, last summer, the metal and hardware of their lockers was sound. However, the paint condition had deteriorated over time. R.A. Jones had the same issue. Their 8th grade hallway had complete new green lockers in their school color. We are now going to match that throughout the building, upgrading their locker system, which will give a nice aesthetic. Collins Elementary is also getting a full whiteboard renovation. They had missing whiteboards, they had aging whiteboards, and we have addressed that. And lastly, Yaley Elementary, we will complete their renovation of their library. We did a massive furniture endeavor last year on their library based on some of our learning priorities. We've now done the carpet and included that into their main office, as well as doing furniture and carpet in their STEM room. So I'm happy for Yaley as well. It's a ambitious summer for us, to say the least. But right now, everything's on schedule and everything's going successfully.
Good to hear. Always busy summers for you guys, isn't it?
It is, but it's good too.
Thank you, Mike. That is a lot of work. I'm tired just looking at the list you have to keep up with.
We got good folks. We got good people.
All right, any other questions or comments from the board or anyone else?
No, Mike, I'd just like to thank you for recognizing all the guys behind the scene that generally don't get recognized. They just get the work done without expecting being noticed for it. So thank you for taking the time to make sure that their work has their name and face put to it. So I appreciate that.
I will tell you, Karen, Dan, Jeremy, Larry, Daryl, Mike Brenthop, I marvel at their skill set. It's crazy, and you're so fortunate.
Yeah,
I agree.
You can see the pride in all of our buildings that they put into it.
Absolutely, that's good stuff. All right, thank you, Dr. Pori. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That brings us to item 7, information, proposals, and communication. I'll kick it off. So tonight is Dr. Poe's last board meeting with us as superintendent. We certainly expect to still see him from time to time because I know he will stay involved here in Northern Kentucky and Boone County and across the state because it's a deep passion of his. So we don't expect him to totally disappear, but hopefully he can decompress a little bit and enjoy the family and the grandkids, maybe work on the golf game a little bit, but also continue to help drive key initiatives here in Boone County, Northern Kentucky, and across the state. So, 12 years as superintendent, about 144 meetings. I know there's a handful you missed over the years, but you still had to do all the prep and due diligence and discussion on it. So it's a lot of work. We appreciate not just 12 years, but also the last 37 years, rising up from teaching and coaching and building level administrator and then moving to the district office. So the only thing that we're not going to bring up tonight is the bus you wrecked. One year. We'll leave that out of the discussion. But also just want to highlight we are going to do a celebration for Dr. Poe tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. It'll be on the YouTube channel as well. We were hoping to have a bigger group come together, but with the situation we're in, we got to keep it to a limited group. So we do hope that you can join us. We'll try to keep it relatively brief, but also meaningful and recognize him alongside the family. So that'll be 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. We'd love for everybody to jump on the YouTube channel and join us for that. So anything else from the board? Or Dr. Thor?
Yeah, I just want to say, so the people out there know, actually our campuses do, get to open back up July 1. So you will be back to live meetings in July. I know that your guys are looking forward to being able to get together when you make your decisions as opposed to over these Zoom and video chats. But you do have to apply social distancing. And so there will be a limitation in July of 50 people social distancing wise. So we will not be having directors and others unless they have agenda items there so that we can have seats for people if they do want to come. So we won't be able to start back with good news items and things like that. But at least you'll be able to get back to your meetings live in July.
Yeah, I would like to thank Randy for the presentation at the Regional Reentry Task Force meeting last week and pushing the region to reimagine education during this time and taking the opportunity. I'd also like to point out that we had 2 student representatives there, John Wharton and Tony Clevenger, and they did a fantastic job of representing students at that task force and giving students a voice at the table.
Right. That's great. Thank you. And we should be having our, well, I think it's August when we have our new student board rep that's sworn in. But she was on there and did a great job, as you said, Julie, representing our students and all of you that did a good job on that particular thing. Just as an FYI, I mean, we do have our committee working on our reentry plan, and a lot more of that will be coming out next week in relationship to what the governor and the KDE releases on what is recommended versus what is required. But we're progressing, and we'll be getting, I know in talking with Mr. Turner and talking with Mr. Detweiler, there will be some additional surveys and different things done for student voice, parent voice, and so forth. And the key thing moving forward is what choices can we give? That's going to be what the key is in a reentry plan moving forward. So just as a state, everything in the transition with Mr. Turner is working excellent. He is on transitioning well. And so everything's there. And Mr. McCarter's doing a good job keeping everything operating on a daily basis, just like all the other assistants. So everything's moving forward very well. Transition's going very well. And Mr. Turner's on top of everything. So everything's going well. So congratulations on your selection of a new superintendent. And so everything's rolling. So it's just great. And like you said, this is the last board meeting. I was calculating, you know, Matt, when you said there's 144 over the 12 years, that wasn't including all the workshops. Karen counted over 200 and some when she was going through the thing. And then
All those books.
For Karen, who was on here, prior to me getting on the board meeting, it's Brian Blavitt's 74th birthday. So he was having a virtual birthday party. And going back, sitting through those, there was over a total of 300 board meetings. So I am kind of looking forward to a Thursday night, the second Thursday at 7:30, not necessarily, or having that day back for a little bit. But you're right. I do appreciate the board and allowing me to work with the Ed Council work and moving forward. So I will be back because I'll be working with Mr. Turner in the district in a new role, but one that is basically where I'm advocating for the district and all children in Northern Kentucky. So I really appreciate you all giving me the opportunity to, you know, coexist with the council this year to keep them on their feet as they were moving forward, and then extending that year on my particular contract to get Ignite open and get that rolling and see that. We have a lot to be proud of in Boone County. I'm very proud of all the work that we've done in Boone County. And it goes back to all the staff that we have, but it does start at the top with board leadership. And I really have been blessed. And I've said this multiple times, and it's not just because we're here of this, but whenever I'm at KSBA or NSBA, that I've truly been blessed over my 12 years, but my entire career. Boone County boards have been great, and we're good because the leadership, and as Julie was just pointing out, we take the opportunity to make sure that we're moving forward. We don't go off on tangents of different things, but we are looking for how every day when our employees come in, they're looking, how can they make learning a better day this day than they did yesterday? And you as a board have pushed us on that and continue pushing, and everybody will continue to rise to that occasion because we've got a great staff and a great community. And I love our motto. You know, when I came on board years ago, and I remember having the conversation with Mr. Kidman when some people were talking about wanting to change this or change that, and I said one thing as long as I was here, we were never going to do was change our motto, which is achieving excellence together, because I really, truly believe that's why Boone County schools are great. It's because we do achieve excellence together. Everybody has a part to play, and because of that, it does a great job. So I really thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. You will be missed at the meetings, and I was really hoping your last meeting we could watch you walk back and forth 85 times to really work hard in that last meeting as you give your words. But I do hope that we see you in the back heckling us from the other side occasionally. If you ever get bored on a Thursday night, I hope to see you back there.
Okay. Will do.
All right, anything else to share from the team? Any other communications or updates you want to give?
No, I just want to tell Karen Evans, I got her note on the last page here. She always gives me notes here and so forth. And I just got to the last one. So thank you, Karen, on that nice note there.
Speaking of unsung heroes, that would be Mrs. Karen Evans right there.
She's kept me in line, and she's my radar. She sees things before I even know I need to see them.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Okay, everyone, that brings us to item 8, closed executive session, which we have none. So we can adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion for adjournment, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Let's jump into our finance meeting. I won't forget that one this month. Tried to just log off last month, I think. All right, so
Glad you said something, Matt, because I almost did.
yeah, see, everybody was ready to hit that leave button. All right, so this is the Finance Corporation of the Boone County Board of Education June meeting, June 11, 2020, 7:30 p.m. I'll call the meeting to order. Item 2, audience of citizens. We do not have any audience of citizens. Item 3, approval of minutes and financial statements. Items A and B, Dr. Poe.
And Mr. Chairperson, I recommend approval of minutes and financial statements, items A and B as presented. The minutes of the May 14, 2020 Corporation Finance Board meeting and the approval of the financial statements.
Okay, we have a recommendation. To have a motion, please.
So move.
Second.
Troy and Maria. All right, any questions or discussion? All right, no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So that brings us to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Julie, second.
Second.
Maria, all right, all in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Karen, I'll get everything signed and just bring it with you in the morning, right? Yeah, okay. All right.
Have a good evening, guys.
Bye.